That's $1. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the regular meeting of council, Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. Call to order. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inkla Kappa and Silk people. Late items. Do we have any late items? Is that feedback I'm hearing? Okay, good. Public input. There is no public input.
There's no one that's signed.
Okay, thank you.
There's no one that's signed up for public input for this portion. There is someone to speak at item 8.1.
Okay, thank you. Adoption of minutes. Regular council meeting minutes, March 25th, 2025. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on March 25th, 2025 be adopted. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Egan, any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Delegations to recognitions, 5.1. Citizen recognition of life-saving measures. Chief, would you like to come to the podium and let us know about this? If you don't mind. Yeah, I will in a second. I'm just got to turn his mic on.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're here to help recognize Mr. Cody Carty for his actions on the Granite Avenue fire, which no doubt saved lives that day. And it's that type of community spirit that we like to commend. And this is you recognizing Mr. Carty. So
So wanted to say thank you very much. And, sometimes, we always wonder when something like this happens, how we would react when this kind of situation happens. So thank you for being able to react quickly and saving those people. So that doesn't happen very often. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. 5.2, Nicola Valley Fall Fair, to be presented by Susan Thompson. Susan, you're up.
Forgot to show up.
It's all right. We'll support you.
Is there anyone on, sorry, council members, mayor, is there anyone on council that doesn't know what the fall fair is about? Okay, we won't waste time with that. What we're here for is that we've been using outhouses for, you can flip to the first slide if you want. We've been using outhouses for the last 40 years at the fall fair. And we've been working towards, as you can see on this little overhead here, we've earned $356,000 to try to get our washrooms going. We've had, like in the 2015, we got the water sewer onto the property. 2024, we got, oh, sorry, this is the income part. This is where we earned all the income from yard sales, grants, donations, all that kind of stuff. So we've raised $356,000. Go to the next one. And then our expenses have been $356,000 too. In 2015, we got the water sewer onto the property. 2016, we got the water lines up to the building. And in 2024, we were able to buy some modular trailers with the help of the grant from the TNRD. So, and we currently have an $18,000 Etsy grant to put decking and steps around it. And then we're going to need to raise 15,000 or we've got the 15,000 from the city to put the water sewer in. And then we're going to need to have a walkway, et cetera, to get to the main building. So that's our next project. Any question? Oh, this is what we're currently using. High tech. So, and the next slide, this is what we bought. So way, way big improvement. So what our problem is that in August, we were able to purchase these modular washrooms from BritBox. And when we had a meeting with the planning department prior to buying them, they said if they were A277 certified, they would be compliant. Well, we had an opportunity in August to buy them. It was a short notice thing. We had to do it or we would lose them because someone else was buying them. Cynthia and the mayor helped us to purchase them. Once we got them on site and I think it's John in building there, he said they're not compliant for whatever reason. So what we're asking from you, so we really did look into it before we just hopped in and bought them. And we thought we were compliant. So now what we're asking from council is if you would permit, give us a temporary use permit while we work on finding out what the deficiencies are going forward. From what I understand, it's insulation. The roof is fine, the floor is fine, the plumbing is fine. It's the insulation problem, which for us is like, we don't have an all winter building. We're not going to need insulation. So we're asking if council would approve a temporary permit to help us move forward and work on these issues as we're going and of course earning more money to fix them. And there's just some other pictures of the other washrooms in town, like this is Vote Park, the rodeo washrooms. This is that dump that's beside Century 21. Yeah. And then there's one this is the one at the courthouse. And apparently the city hasn't got any control over that. So we're saying like, surely we can come up to snuff on these things.
So my question, thank you, Susan, I appreciate that. And I know you guys have been working hard on this. I'm not sure if this is for CAO or for the director, but temporary use permit on this, is it allowed? And if it is, what would the length of the temporary use permit be for? Because I know in TNRD, it's usually 18 months to 3 years. So I'm just wondering what it would be here.
So we have a maximum of 2 years on the temporary use permit. 18 months. Yeah, and I think we can have one extension. So it's the same, same as the TNRD, because that's in the charter. We can't deviate from that because it's provincial legislation. So you could, for any period of time, up to that 18 months for first use. So ultimately, if they're just asking for the summer season, our next steps would be to have the department put a briefing note together to get that TUP approved, because obviously you can't approve in a delegation.
Councillor Etcher.
I understand about the A277 being an issue, but I thought that was mostly just for residential because I know at work we come across A277, which is more for modular construction, which is basically a home standard. So I was just thinking, if these are washrooms, do we have to have the same standard? And I think this is more for the building department because A277 is more of a residential standard so that you can have a modular home designation. And a Z240 is more for like a single wide manufactured home in a park. And I was just wondering, is there any deviation that we can do to help them?
So this is the building officials as per the BC building code.
Okay.
Councillor Egan.
Yeah, my question is more along the lines of perhaps if they haven't given you any guidelines as to why they won't insure them or whatever they're saying
For use.
approvals, is maybe it's not insulated properly and you know you're going to be carrying it through the winter, and as it is plumbing, maybe that's the issue.
Like our exhibition building is not all weather. We only operate in the summer and we winterize these trailers. Like we would have to winterize them every year. We're nonprofit. We can't afford to be heating these buildings all winter long.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe insulation
Yeah.
and making sure that the bottoms are insulated like a normal trailer would be.
Yeah, we'll put skirting. We're planning to
Yeah.
put skirting and stuff around them, but there's no way we can use them in the winter. We have no building to use them in, right?
And they will be drained.
And yeah,
They
we,
will be, they're
Yeah.
set up to drain back and there won't be water sitting.
yeah,
Okay.
we've winterized them already for this year. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Owen.
So, how much time do you need to get these washrooms in compliance?
We don't know. That's what we have to do is engage an architect, engineer.
An
to-
architect or an engineer.
Yeah, to inspect, like we've already had a fellow looking at them. So we've got someone on board that's looking at them, but there's another $7,500 that we have to find somewhere, right? So that's, I shouldn't think it would be too long before we have an answer.
Yeah, my assumption is that it's not going to take longer than the first 18 months, right? So I think that
I mean, ideally, it will depend on, so they have to do the engineering, and like do the assessment. So if it simply is the installation and they're gonna have to cover the cost of that, I think they will have to certify, get the registered professional to certify that everything else is in compliance. So the plumbing and the electrical and, the foundation and things like that. So it'll all have to be in compliance for the building code. But ultimately, if they have the funds to address whatever the deficiency is, it should be hopefully relatively simple. So, I mean, ideally, if the first 18 months, and if they're winterizing them, then they're actually asking for a TUP only for the period that they're going to use them for.
So I mean, this happens in the TNRD situation all the time. And the 18 months usually covers, but if it gets to a point where it can't, there can be a second TUP to carry it through. So I've got no problems with getting some information on what the TUP would look like. And we could go from there unless anybody else has anything else. So what would be the process on that, CAO, please?
Well, I will, I'll have development services connect with them.
Okay.
And determine what needs to be the conditions of the TUP. And then I believe it has to come back to council for approval. So the quicker that the connections happen and that they provide whatever information we might need, then the quicker we can get it to council.
Okay, thank you. You gotta come to the mic there, Director. Yes, it is.
To that.
Yes. Oh, gotta hit your.
I don't believe this needs to come to council. This is a staff approval thing for a TUP. It's just a matter of getting it applied for. If the building officials agree it's not a safety issue, we can issue it at a staff level.
Okay, if that's what we need to do, then that's
Okay.
fine. So we'll make sure that happens that way or the other way, if that's okay. We're good. So that's what we will do, Susan. We will move that forward for you and make sure it all falls into place and you're getting married? Awesome. Oh. Okay. Yeah, nope. Thank you for bringing that forward. Appreciate it. You gotta hit your mic.
I
Somebody.
have two more items.
Sure.
The first item is the question as to the ownership of the buildings. It still hasn't been resolved. It's been since August.
Okay.
And I phoned the guy at Britco and I asked him if we could possibly have the invoice amended to say it was sold to the Nicola Valley Fall Fair care of the city. And he said he thought we could do it.
So at this point in time, the city is the owner of the
Yes,
trailers?
you are.
Okay,
Yes. And they won't talk to us because we don't own them.
okay. CAO?
I will follow up because we had sent some paperwork that would. Yeah, so we
You
saw
have,
there's.
we have a receipt, but it doesn't say anything on it about what we've bought.
No, it says City of Merritt has received the money from the Nicola Valley Fall Fair. Oh, it does say. to
Yeah, so
purchase,
you purchased it from us.
But there's no serial numbers, nothing like that on it. And the,
Yeah,
sorry? Well, what invoice? I don't
They
have that
should-
invoice.
they should be able to provide you that because we've signed over title of it to you.
Who has?
The city, that's what Kevin's signature indicates, is that we received the money from you, so you purchased it from us. So they should be communicating with you if you need additional information.
They won't do it. They said that
Okay.
you own them and they won't talk to us.
Okay,
So he said he didn't see any problem with amending.
okay,
So furnish us a number and we'll make sure we get that straightened out as well.
Sorry?
Furnish us a contact number so we can
It's
get that
that
straightened out.
Andy at BritBox.
Okay.
And then our last thing was we were going to ask if Mayor would provide us with a letter of a recommendation for fundraising. We had one in the past with Mayor Brown. And we would just like a generic one because there's a whole bunch of avenues open. And then, you know, they say, oh, we want a letter of recommendation, and we contact and it's too late. The thing's gone by.
Sure.
So if we could have a generic one, I did copy the letter.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The one that we got last time.
Okay.
We were asking if we could get a letter of recommendation.
I don't see a problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much, you guys.
Councillor Hogan?
So regarding the letter of support, I think that it would be more specific. There are many times or other organizations applying for similar grants, and I think that we have to have a control of who is applying for what and what type of project we are supporting. So I think that if we provide the generic one, so that we don't want to know what grants they are applying for instead of going for the specific letters.
CEO? Okay, let's think on that.
So I'm sorry, what were you saying? That you don't want to give a generic one? You want to give specific ones?
Right. So when you are considering applying for specific grants, so it's always good that we provide a specific letter of support for that specific grant, and it's going to have more weight in the application. And also it's going to be good for the city to understand what other organization is applying for what grant, so that we know that there is not going to be duplication, or who are we going to be supporting if there are two organizations
Oh, okay.
applying for the same grant.
I
That's
understand.
all.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll let staff noodle on that, and we'll do a letter of some sort, whether it's specific or blanket. CL?
So right now we're applying for a grant from the BC. You wouldn't have someone else in town applying for
No,
it
but-
because it's for fall fairs.
Okay.
So that's what we're applying for right now.
If you want to send us a list of grants you think you're going to apply on,
Sure.
that would be helpful.
Sure.
I will say, Mr. Mayor, if I can, that we
Sure,
do have a
please.
policy in regards to this, but it's more related to what grants we're applying on and what grants we're providing letters of support
Yes.
to that might conflict. So Etsy BC, who's been a very good supporter of the fall fair, has asked us the last couple of years to withdraw our applications in order to ensure that they got an application or got funding. And the stuff that we were going to do, we made an executive decision that the Fall Fair Society needed that money more than we did. We had other options open to us.
Okay.
But I think the policy specific between the city and other organizations, not external organizations, but we can certainly do some
Sure.
turnaround on this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on, 7.1 bylaws, City of Merritt Building Bylaw number 2382-2024. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Building Bylaw number 2382-2024 be adopted. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Charney, any questions on this? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 7.2 City of Merritt 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2396-2025. Recommendation that the City of Merritt 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2397-2025 be adopted. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Chart. What? No, it's 2397-2025. Oh, it's a typo. 2396. Let me read that again. Recommendation that the City of Merritt 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 2396-2025 be adopted. Same two. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2397-2025. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Sewer Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2397-2025 be adopted. Councillor Etchart, Councillor Olgan, any questions on this one? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2398-2025. Recommendation that the City of Merritt Water Parcel Tax Amending Bylaw number 2398-2025 be adopted. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Egan, any questions on this? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Bang, bang, bang. Just give me a second here. New business, 0.8, Good Neighbor Bylaw Invoice Appeal. Do you believe we have Paul? You're up. We'll get you to hit the button there when you. Thank you.
Sorry, I've never done anything like this before.
No problem.
I just got.
Thank you. Oops.
That's all we're gonna do. Thank you for your time, everybody. Hi, my name is Paul Simpson. I've been a proud homeowner and proud Merrittonian for almost 20 years. I'm not here to criticize the city, but just make a stand against a situation that I feel is very unfair and in which I feel powerless. On February 6th, in the middle of winter, I found a series of pictures and a letter telling me to clean up my so-called unsightly areas of my yard from the bylaw. We're very surprised looking at the pictures that it didn't seem that bad, but we did our best to address them because I trusted the system. Tanny and I both worked on tidying what was shown in the pictures. It was cold and miserable having to work in the winter weather. But that's the way it goes. We would have been able to do even more, but some of the work was still frozen to the ground. I had put up a new fence and was in the middle of refurbishing the old fence materials, but ran out of time because the winter came. So I immediately moved my fence project from the front of the house, which was unsightly, that's true, to the back to have a nice, clean looking front yard again. Fair enough. We addressed most of the complaints and thought for sure he would be happy to see the changes. We were confused as to why he took a picture of a pile of wood I had carefully stacked on dunnage and put a tarp over in the backyard. Maybe it was a mistake, I thought, but just in case, I spent a few minutes making sure it was all secure and tidy. The deadline went by and we thought we were good, at least until the weather got a bit better, so I could finish my fence job. On March 5th at 12:15, while I was at work, my daughter texted me saying some men were working in our backyard. Being surprised by this, I promptly came home and I noticed when I arrived, they already had finished everything and were just leaving with the last haul going to the dump at around 12:30, which didn't seem to take all that long. I asked him why he still came and he said that our efforts were still not quite good enough. Being crushed, I asked him why he had then unraveled my wood pile and tossed the good wood away. And his reply was, oh, because I just felt like it. And with that, I said that he was being draconian and unfair. Then I looked at the small truck and trailer they were using, and it said Kelowna on the side. That's when he said nobody was available to do this job in Merritt, so I had to go out to Kelowna. I thought that was very odd, but I left crushed and went back to work. Not long after, the bill came, and it was huge, $5,500 for just a list, small pile of wood, rolling metal stairs, 5 fence panels, my pile of stacked and covered wood, and a small metal pole. Even if he was in the right to still take everything, it's only a few hours of work, as you can see by the pictures. I was shocked when he said he paid 4 people $90 an hour each, and it supposedly took 9 hours. Not true. I was there and saw them finishing up. I was able to call 3 of the top removal companies in town, and all 3 said they never got a call for this job and were available. So why was I lied to? and made me pay so much more bringing people up from Kelowna. We feel that this was unfair, making us work in the winter to still come out, letting us know that he still wasn't happy with no warning despite our efforts. We deserve that warning. And then overcharging us unnecessarily, we feel unfairly targeted, and this huge bill is unfair and will crush our family. I am challenging the following. No warning that our efforts were not good enough still, no communication. 3 weeks to complete tasks in the winter is unfair. No warning that he could be deliberately sending a crew from Kelowna at a huge additional cost. It's not even a registered company, it's a private one, and especially for one that charges so much seems odd. And added cost of the trailer, most people supply one. The four-man costs $90 each, seems absurd. I have spoken to our yard removal companies in town, like Arnica, and none of them ever even make close to $90 an hour. It's around $25 or $30 an hour. Making me pay for getting rid of my organized and tarped wood pile. I had around $300 of good wood that I piled in there. Not being transparent in billing, I had to request clarity. I should be allowed to get a chance to finish my fence refurbishing job instead of making me throw it all away, even before spring had arrived. I would like my good wood reimbursement of $300 and a bit of money for the panels that were removed because they were tidy. And I'm also challenging this process. This has been very embarrassing to have to make this public. I'm feeling ripped off, pushed around, and embarrassed. Has been very difficult for me. And now I'm open for any questions.
Paul, any questions? Councilor Charney.
I'm looking at the pictures from February 6th and then February 28th. And in a lot of cases, except for the absence of snow, I don't see much difference in the condition of a lot of the pictures. So what efforts did you make to?
Good question. All those panels I stacked in the back. What else did we do? We cleared, there was a pile with a door and some garbage that I cleared off. The big pile was still frozen at the time. There were still a few panels stuck to the ground. And the weather had just started getting, like the snow was clearing up, so we were getting back to it just slowly.
Councilor Richard.
So when the photos were taken February 28th, were you told at that time that they were going to be taking any action? Like, because if they took the photos February 6th and then February 28th, did they give you official notice or phone call, or what happened then?
There was just the one letter saying clean this up, and then
So 21 days when it was minus 25,
yeah.
that's all you got? Okay.
See you.
And I just have this Director of Corporate Services speak to the
Yes,
content
please.
of the letter.
Yep, please. That's what I was going to head to. Seal, or Seal, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just pulling up the letter now.
If you don't mind, while she's doing that, I'll just speak to the costs of cleanup. So we have repeatedly asked local contractors to do this type of work, and they have not responded. They've been unresponsive on numerous occasions to our requests for them to support these types of cleanups, which is why we've had to go out of the community.
Seal.
Thank you, Worship. So the letter that was sent to the property owner on February 6th, it outlines the good neighbor bylaw, and it defines unsightly as in addition to its common dictionary meaning, and regardless of the condition of other properties in the neighborhood shall include property having any one or more of the following characteristics: the storage, location, or accumulation of visible to a person standing on a public highway or on nearby property, or in a building or structure situate on a public highway or nearby property of filth, rubbish, graffiti, or any other discarded materials, the untidy storage, location, or placement of building materials on a site where construction is not taking place except where they can be seen from a public highway or from a nearby property, or from a building or structure situate on a public highway or nearby property, landscaping or vegetation that is dead or characterized by uncontrolled growth or lack of maintenance or is damaged, the placement, storage, or accumulation of one or more derelict vehicles, fences characterized by holes, breaks, rot, crumbling, cracking, peeling, rusting, or physical decay, a lowering in quality of the condition or appearance of a structure or parts thereof, characterized by holes, breaks, rot, crumbling, cracking, peeling, any other similar conditions of disrepair, dilapidation, or deterioration. It also defines rubbish, which means decaying or non-decaying solid or semi-solid wastes, including but not limited to both combustible and non-combustible wastes, such as the following: paper, trash, refuse, cardboard, waste materials, cans, glass, bedding, mattresses, crates, rags, barrels, carpeting, boxes, lumber, not neatly piled, scrap, iron, tin, metal, or other metal, and continues on with scrap, paving material, construction or demolition waste, discarded or dilapidated appliances or furniture, yard clippings and brush, wood, dry vegetation, dirt, weeds, dead trees and branches. Generally, a lot of what was defined and seen in the pictures here, what we asked was for the property owner to please bring their property into compliance by February 27th. It also says that this letter will serve as your final notice to comply, and that was to remove the wood, the fence parts, the pallets, tarps, concrete blocks, bricks, metals, metal stairs, furniture, cushions, baby carrier tires, and remove the discarded materials or rubbish. I did speak with the property owner. He did acknowledge that he received this letter. What was also discussed was that he had chosen not to reach out to bylaw services. Bylaw services, if anyone reaches out to us, we work with the property owners to extend the time period. We set a timeline. If that timeline is not met and we hear from the property owner, or if we see that substantial work has been done, we will absolutely extend the timeline for this.
I'll just get the CO to clarify the last two paragraphs of the letter and read them specifically.
It says, should the work not be completed by the compliance date, the city will, without further notice, enter the subject's property and carry out the work required at the cost of the owner, which cost will be added to the taxes owed for the subject property. So reasonable notice is given that we will carry forward with this work. If for any reason you feel you will need an extension to the compliance date, or if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact Bylaw Services, provides the telephone number, and thank you for your prompt cooperation.
Thank you. Councillor Charlie.
I was going to ask what the protocol was after the letter was sent out and the deadline happened, but you have answered my question. So it is very clear, if you do need an extension, please contact the city or bylaw.
Absolutely.
Councillor Richard.
I can appreciate that we send these letters out. But when we have our coldest months in January and February, I'm just wondering why we're giving only the 21 days at times where a lot of stuff is still frozen to the ground. It just, yes, the letter went out and you had that statement in there, but also at the same time, when you have extreme weather temperatures where it's unsafe, you put people at a hazard in the winter to do that. And I just think it's unreasonable on us to do that in the middle of winter at these extreme temperatures. And I understand about your statement in the letter, and I don't agree with this. I just think that in the winter, if it was the middle of summer, I can understand the 21 days, but I just don't think in the middle of the winter, this is reasonable on our part.
Councillor Ogan.
So, thank you. So, Councillor HR, so I think that that's something that you can bring to the policy, something that they can discuss at that time. So now I want to address Mr. Simpson. We have a good neighbors bylaw in place that was approved by city councilors. Then, as for what I see here, staff follow protocol, follow policy. So I don't have that problem. So they do their due diligence. I can see the property, it's not looking good. So there was work to be done, and it's clear in the pictures. My issue that I have here is not what the city didn't do around. You guys did your job, follow policy. This is the third time in this term that we are dealing with situations like this. Situations where I feel the invoice is very high. I'm having a hard time believing that there was no local contractor for this job. If this was from a local contractor, I would say, Mr. Simpson, there is nothing that I can do for you because we follow everything. But the moment that we are bringing somebody from Kelowna and stated that there was 36 hours of work done by 4 people, that is my problem. So, and when we are trying to do something, bring something up to code, I also have to make sure that I am getting resources from the community, and I'm gonna be doing that. Maybe I'm not asking to request 3 estimates, but at least 1 person from the community doing the job, and then I would have no issues here. So that's my situation here. Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
I appreciate your concern, Councillor Etchart, with the time. That is why it was very clear, if you need more time, an extension could be given. All it takes is communication to get you past that cold weather time into when they did the work in March. So you have to have communication. You can't just ignore the problem. You have to address it. And it's very clear in that letter. If you can't do it in that time frame, please contact the city and the bylaw, and we can extend that time frame. So it's not a solid 21 days. There is time to extend it, and it was very clear in that letter.
And I think it's been made clear that local contractors have not responded to the ability to do this job.
Can I add something to that?
Go right ahead.
I did call 3 of the big guys in town, and they said they never got a call and they would have done that because it's a slower time of year for them. So that's why I thought that was really odd that 3 different companies, which I listed at the end, chatted with each one of them, and they're like, yeah, we were available and it's a slow time for us. So we would have grabbed that up. So they were scratching their heads too why we outsourced that so far.
CFO or CO?
No, I'll just actually let Counselor, you can just get to me after Counselor Egan.
Councillor Egan.
Yeah, I have to say that we need to show a little bit of compassion here. Also, I agree with Councillor Etchart on the cold points of the year. I also have to think back on other properties that we've given some great time to. Some with requests and some without requests that have been very prominent people that have disregarded our bylaw policies. So I'm in the area of, I would like to see some kind of in reconsideration of this.
So I will warn council the fact that you have 1 or 2 others that decisions that we make here will also affect those ones, just so you're aware.
I understand that.
So, and one is quite large. So, and the taxpayers already paid for this. So, CO.
I just wanted to confirm that this process is in compliance with our legislative requirements. So that council understands that we have followed the letter of not just the Good Neighbor bylaw, but the charter in regards to these authorities. So there is no legal requirements here. I would say that what a contractor says to a citizen versus what a contractor says to our organization is often very different in regards to whether or not they'll do the work. So we've had multiple opportunities for local contractors to take work with us at different times of the year, and they have not. Most of them have not even returned the calls, let alone not provided a quote. We are going to try again to put out a request for standing offers. So that would be, what is your base costs and all of those things. Again, we may or may not get local contractors, but if we have to call multiple contractors every time we do this, it's going to be challenging. So what we're going to do is try and put out a standing offer. We may or may not get local contractors. We may get Kamloops and Kelowna contractors, but we've had multiple attempts at this and haven't had any success. And again, personal responsibility for your property. It's very clear in the letter, if you read the document that you've received, that we are very open to providing the extension. we are addressing them as we see them so that we're not missing them. And because this is right now the primary work that our bylaw officer has the authority to do because of the way that our enforcement bylaws are set up. So we're doing our very best to clean up the community, to make sure that the fire smarting of homes is thought of when we're doing these cleanups. So obviously large piles of potentially dry fencing materials are a fire smart issue. But you know, if he had contacted the appropriate person, which is the bylaw officer, as per the good neighbor bylaw, an extension would have been granted.
Councillor Charney.
I think if we start changing our policy, it's a slippery slope. So we send out letters, we don't get a response, city rolls in, cleans it up. And then the resident comes here and says, well, I don't want to pay this. And then we reconsider, we feel sorry. That opens it up to everybody to get their yard cleaned by the city. This is a bylaw. It's being carried out as procedure. And in my opinion, we have to follow it. Mr. Simpson, why did you not contact the bylaw when the deadline was coming? February 27th was the deadline. Why did you not contact the city and say, listen, the weather is terrible, everything is frozen. Can you give me an extension?
I didn't say somewhere in there that if you're making a good effort at it, that you know, that would be considered, because I knew he'd have to come back and have a second look.
So you chose not to contact the city and ask for an extension?
I must have uninterpreted the concept that if you're making a good attempt right away and even days before you come, because the weather's finally started to warm up, that would count for something.
But it's very clear. It says, should the work not be completed? And you had all the pictures of the work and you didn't complete that. And so you chose not to phone bylaw.
Also, too, I think you have to understand that there needs to be a communication when he comes to have a look a second time, or you're making, you need to say, hey, is this good enough? Are we moving forward here? I think that's where you need to go with that. Councillor Beck.
The city doesn't always know what you're doing as an effort. My parents went through the same situation, but they were always in contact with the city, showing pictures or inviting the bylaw officer over to say, what more can I do? What do I need to do? So that way they can always extend it. They went through this for years. And the city always worked with them because they always kept in communication with the city and the bylaw officer. So you had an opportunity to talk to the city, an opportunity to extend it so that you knew what direction you needed to go, but you chose not to.
Seal.
So, and I'll just clarify, there is no statement in the letter in regards to effort to complete the work. That was actually something the CO just said, that if he had contacted and there'd been an effort, that we would have extended it. So that's not in this letter at all.
Any other questions? Councillor Petrosi.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for actually providing an invoice, because we didn't have that in the original when we were actually looking at the minutes for the meeting. Anyway, you had on the invoice 1, 2, and 3 highlighted, and I just wanted to comment on the trailer cost. Like, did they actually have to rent a trailer in Kelowna and bring it? That's just such a huge extra cost right there. Travel time, another $200. That's, you know, just about $1,000 just to rent a trailer and travel cost. And I just keep thinking that we should have maybe made a better effort at trying to go local. So, you know, having somebody local, because that's just about $1,000 right there. So,
But you were already told that they tried, Paul, and nobody responded.
I know, but
I mean, you can't work magic here, right?
Yep.
The yard didn't get looking like this in
No, I
21
know,
days,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
I mean. Seal.
Sorry, could I just point out the size of the panels that had to go in? So that is probably why a trailer was required versus just their truck, because those panels were quite large.
Councillor Hogan.
I just want to again mention the big issue here. So we were told that these local companies were contacted. That's one story. There is another story saying that he contacted these companies and they were never contacted. So that is my biggest issue here. So how do we really do the effort to get somebody local? We don't know that part. So that is the concern. If I had an estimate from a local company saying it's the same, I would say, I'm sorry, there is nothing I can do for you. But that's the problem.
Seal.
Sorry, in this case, we didn't contact local companies because our numerous attempts in the past were unsuccessful to get them to respond. So we've been using a consistent company that has been responsive to our requests, right? So they have, when we've had a question, they've come and when we've asked, they've come and done it and provided us with quotes, whereas local companies have not. So at some point, we have to be able to just proceed without having to call every single company to be ignored every single time we call, right? There's been numerous attempts for numerous types of properties, and we've had zero response from local companies. So at some point, we have to go with our consistent, it'd be like doing an RFP and having somebody submit for an RFP that's normally unresponsive and does not follow the instructions of the RFP, and us having to call them back every single time to submit an RFP. We wouldn't do that. That's not part of the purchasing process. So ultimately, we're following our purchasing process in that we have regularly asked these organizations and these local companies. They've been unresponsive to our requests. We're no longer required to ask them.
Councillor Sherman.
I think it's irrelevant whether it was a local company or out of town company. The fact is, the yard met the unsightly bylaw. Letters were sent out, the inspections were happened, letters sent out, dates were not met. There was no communication, therefore the city did their part. And I don't think that the taxpayers should be absorbing this bill. We have not overturned any other appeal that has come to the city. And I really do not think that we should start now, as I said, because it opens up a Pandora's box and it leaves every bylaw we had to interpretation. So once we start doing that, it's a dangerous practice. So it's very unfortunate and I'm sorry you have to pay this, but I think we have to uphold this invoice.
Councillor Richard.
I can appreciate that maybe the city did their legislative piece by sending out the letter and saying that in one breath, we contacted the company just to say, well, we didn't in this case, and we have to be held to uphold this. And when we're going to send a $5,000 bill onto someone's taxes is a big deal. And yes, I can appreciate that it takes time and you're not getting phone calls back, but here we are having to go and add the equivalent of a year's taxes to someone's tax bill on something, and February 28th was the date that it was inspected, and within days they're getting this huge bill. I don't know, it seems excessive and unfair to me.
Any other questions? Is there?
I'm sorry that I also too, when I was talking to these guys like Jason Arnold and stuff, and he actually gave me a quote on the job if he was asked, and two guys, big companies in town both gave quotes. They're both exactly $2,000. At least that's reasonable. I mean, I wish I'd made the call. I did the wrong move, but at least let me pay the $2,000 that I've got two quotes from the companies in town, if that's possible.
So any other questions? Okay, so
I've got it on my phone. One just came in today because he was on a trip or something in the last week.
Can you send them to CAO?
Yep. Oh, sorry. And the other thing too is that they didn't want to say anything in writing that they were available, but to call them because they said they like these jobs and that they don't want to wreck the ability to get more of these jobs. So apparently they do care about getting more of these bylaw jobs because they wouldn't give it to me in writing.
thank you. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Simpson for coming in and engaging in the civic process. Not a lot of people would be brave enough to do that. Obviously, our job as staff is to follow council's bylaws and to enforce council's bylaws. But I definitely think that not a lot of people would have bothered to even come in and engage in the civic process. So please take pride in that.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. I'll get you to hit that button in front of you, please. Thank you very much. So we have a recommendation. Recommendation is that council direct staff to uphold invoice 9534 in the amount of $5,416.50. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Charney. Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Defeated? Yep. So new motion. New motion.
That be okay to table this one until we get those estimates? That's something, the information that we need to.
If you wish to
put forward.
table it, ask for it to be
I'm motion.
tabled.
Yep.
We'll table it for further information. Yep, there you go. So Councillor Rogan, Councillor Petrosi, table it for further information. Thank you very much. Oh, sure, go ahead.
So where does this money come from now? Where are we taking this money from? The city's paid for it.
Yeah, so we'll have to have this discussion when it comes back. Simple as that. And that's where the conversation will come in when the time comes, right? So it's the process that we go through. Okay, moving on. These things are never easy. No, they're not. They're not easy things. This is why you sit in these chairs. 8.2, 2719 Paragon Way, Section 57, notice on title. Opportunity for representation. Nobody here on this. So we have a recommendation that maybe before we move ahead, because I deal with this in TNRD all the time, Section 57. We've done one here already. Could we just get an update on what Section 57 is and what it entails for the people out in the land of the living? Flip a coin, you guys. Yeah, flip a coin. Well, I can help you through it because I know what Section 57 is.
So my understanding is that this, oh, thank you, Your Worship, sorry.
Hold on a second.
First, my understanding is that what a Section 57 does is it's the next stage in an enforcement after a stop order that places information on a person's title for their property so that any mortgagees or any other interest in the property might be able to help along the process of getting them in compliance through the knowledge of the placing of the notice on the title. I think that's where it rounds it up anyways of what the intent is. This would be before any further legal action that the city might consider taking directly.
So they will not be able to sell this without the 57 being on the notice, and they will not be able to borrow against the property without the banks knowing that there's a 57 on the process.
Yeah, I think they would be able to do things. It's just a matter of anybody would have their eyes wide open when they're seeing it. Yeah.
The idea of a 57 is to move the position along so that you get into compliance.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
what
just-
the 57 is.
It's the next step that we have after the stop order in a period of time. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Etchart. Nope, Councillor Charney, sorry.
So my understanding, I understand that, so they can't sell it or they can't borrow on that piece of property. So if they decide to just leave it, it can stay in this condition for 20 years or more if they decide not to sell.
I think the city would have to give some thought to the time frame. Right now, this is the next step. If this goes on for a year, 6 months, pick a timeline that we would want to maybe look at taking further action. Just bearing in mind that further action costs money, takes lawyers' time, and it's not a given that we're going to get that money back on judgment at the end of everything. But the goal here is to try and push them into compliance by giving them more incentive.
So does this not fall under unsightly like this picture here? It looks very dangerous.
It could.
If someone, there's no fencing around the top of it, there's rebar sticking up. To me, it looks very dangerous, and I don't know how this falls under unsightly.
So if I may, the 57 starts the ball rolling on this situation. So this gives them the opportunity to act on their properties if they choose not to. So in TNRD, there has never been not one section 57, and we issue a lot of them that has not eventually been complied to. Some take a year, some take 18 months, but eventually they need to do something with these properties. They have to fix the 57 before they can move forward. So once we issue the 57 and our bylaw officer feels that it's unsafe, then we can move to the next level.
And we also would not approve any further permits to that end as well, due to that particular notice on title.
Councillor Etcher.
I just wanted to clarify, I agree with some of the statements that Councillor Charney had said, so she just beat me to the punch. But what I was wondering is with the 57, would they have to remove the existing footings that are there, or could they reapply for a development permit? Because I noticed that you had one on on this property, I think it was October 13th and 22nd. So would they be able to apply for a new permit if they were inspected, so somebody could proceed with building on that same footing?
Yeah, they would, obviously that stuff would need to be inspected to make sure that, you know, rusty rebar and stuff wouldn't deteriorate from the inside of the concrete out later. Have to get that certified.
Yeah.
That's within the building officials' realm to, when they get contacted, we want to push forward. They're gonna look after that and make sure it's all in compliance. Ideally, you don't have to take it apart. The longer you leave something, the worse it's gonna get,
Yeah.
and.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But bearing in mind, these things are also impacting neighboring properties as well.
Yeah.
I know we have one that's got a fairly steep wall right next to a existing house and needs to be shored up and things like that, and not a great situation for other people trying to finish up their property either.
No.
Seal.
Thank
If
you.
I could just, so ultimately, this supports us in not taking a lot of immediate action on properties where we're not sure we're gonna be able to recoup the costs. Right? We have other properties in the community that we're not doing cleanups on because we're pretty sure we're not gonna be able to get those costs back because we're not sure that there's an ownership group for them. So you can draw your conclusion as to what properties I'm talking about on a big hill. The other option is that these ones would probably go to a remedial action requirement, so they'd have more teeth than just our good neighbor bylaw cleanup. Right? So we're gonna take, if these ones, we would take through a more stronger legal process than just our good neighbor bylaw.
Councillor Hogan? No, wait, hold on. Oh, Councillor Petrosi.
Well, you know, I did take a drive up there today to look at these properties and echoing Councillor Charney, they are very unsafe. The amount of weeds that have actually grown over the rebar. Kids playing in their animals, somebody is really going to get hurt, and it could happen tomorrow. It is really bad. It is really overgrown, so.
And you'll notice in the memo as well on these properties, this one in particular as well, that obviously further litigation, should something happen, the city needs to take action to show that progress, or we run the risk of being liable as well. So this is about moving along in the process and making sure we're following our due diligence on getting this property into compliance.
Councillor Hogan?
Yeah, I just want to mention that I am totally in favor of filing the 57 notice on these properties. I am actually shocked to see the pictures. I didn't have the opportunity to drive by, but why the wait? I mean, so the inspections were conducted in 2022, and anything should have happened, something like that, you know, in this waiting period. So why do we have to wait that long for this?
There may have been a bit of reluctance on part of staff in the past to do exactly what we're doing now, which is follow bylaws and make sure that we're enforcing as we should. So in our world right now, this is what we're doing, and you're seeing it in other areas as well. Right? A little bit more focus on follow the bylaws and the policies.
My question is, in the past, I dealt with liens. So if we have to make these properties safe, and there has to be some contractor doing any type of work, can we put the lien so that we can make sure that these are not unsafe anymore, because we don't know how long these properties will remain like that?
So ultimately, if we do any work, it would be attached to the property taxes. And if the property taxes remain unpaid, then they would go to tax sale in 3 years, which is one of those things that at UBCM, one of your advocacy things is this very long process. So if we decide that we need to go put up security fencing around them, then that the cost would go to the property owner as part of their taxes. Yeah, and it is a process, right? With these kinds of, particularly because they're with a developer. And I know that the department's been having conversations with this developer over the last year to try and get these into compliance, and it's just, this is the time now. But any work we do, it will be it will be charged back to the property taxes if it's unpaid, if any invoices are unpaid.
And this is work of significant cost as well. You know, if it was a flat parcel, you could probably just get by with putting security fence around it. But we're dealing with fairly, heavy terrain areas with houses right next to it that could risk sliding into the hole kind of the thing if the geotechnical slips and whatnot. So, when we take action, fencing itself may not be enough. This could be significant cost to bring excavators in, lots of fill material to get it into a safe condition, right?
Councillor Charney?
These look like they're abandoned, obviously. Is there anywhere in the city where we have any procedure for abandoned buildings or work like this? No. Is there anything in the provincial legislation for abandoned?
Well, I'm assuming they're not abandoned because they're dealing with the actual owners of the property. I think what we fall under is the same old thing. People's eyes are sometimes bigger than their stomachs. And I'm assuming there is a situation where they're not able to complete the work they'd like to because financially they're maybe not be able to get there. So.
No communication.
Well, so again, I would assume that, and that's why we're throwing the 57 on it, that start moving these questions forward. That's exactly what it'll do. This is exactly what we need to have happen, and then we can move on from there.
And if there are creditors on the properties, that should really help
Yes.
as well, get their attention.
Yep.
So.
Because, yeah, the creditors also get the 57 notice as well. Yes.
So all of this process goes back to buildings that are fire affected and never remediated, and properties that are given remedial action. So we'll have a number of other remedial action properties that the CO is going to bring forward in the next couple of months that are just sitting there and nobody's doing anything with. They're not really abandoned because they are owned. And some of them are owned locally. But ultimately, this is getting to be the ugly process of making sure that the community is looking attractive to other people. And that neighbors don't feel like their houses are being put at risk, or that their neighborhoods are being devalued by stuff that's left. So, as we work through this around some of these other problem properties, you'll start to see us take a lot more action to make sure that we have bylaws, let's follow them.
Well, this is the problem with spec homes. This is exactly why spec homes are, sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're terrible. And this is a spec home situation, obviously. Thank you, Mr. Green, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Recommendation that council direct the corporate officer to file a notice in the land title office stating that resolution relating to the parcel legally described as PID 027-521-88 with a civic address of 2719 Paragon Way has been made under section 57 of the community charter, and further information about it may be inspected at the municipal hall. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Baxter, any other questions on this? All those in favor? Carried. Same thing, 8.2, 2750 Paragon Way, section 57 notice on title. Opportunity for representation, don't see any. Recommendation that council direct the corporate officer to file a notice in the land titles office stating that resolution relating to the parcel legally described as PID 027-523-07 with the civic address of 2750 Paragon Way has been made under section 57 of the community charter, and further information about it may be inspected at municipal hall. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Petrosi, any questions on this one as well? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. 8.4. Grandview Heights, section 57, notice on title, opportunity for representation. Don't see any. Recommendation that council direct the corporate officer to file a notice in the land title office stating that a resolution relating to the parcel legally described as PID 026-780-038 with a civic address of 2813 Grandview Heights has been made under section 57 of the community charter, and further information about it may be inspected at the municipal hall. Councillor Baxter, Councillor Chart, any questions on this one? Councillor Chart.
I wanted to know how this impacts the neighbors. There is a steep incline there, and it looks like there's a tarp, and it could slough very easily. So how how is this impacting the neighbors? Do we know?
Well, this didn't just show up yesterday, right? So they've been living with this for quite some time and
I know.
that would be the owner of the property would have to deal with whatever issues happen on there. So again, section 57 now shows that we're moving on this. And now
Okay.
we'll continue to move on it. And I think now it would be up to bylaw to decide whether or that it's getting dangerous and then we move on it. But section 57, I think, is the best way that we're going right now. So. But you do have a point there. But these have been there for like this for a while. So, yeah. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right. 8.5 Trans Mountain Scholarship Fund. We have a recommendation. I'll read that out. That council establish an annual scholarship with the 50,000 provided by Trans Mountain for the duration that the funds are available. Recommendation that council establish a scholarship reserve to maximize the investment income related to budgeted and donated scholarship funds, other recommendations that the City of Merritt Trans Mountain Scholarship be awarded annually to a graduating student from the Merritt Secondary School in the amount of blank with the following criteria, and that's been in front of you. So I'm just going to throw it out. I would like to see the amount be 1,000. That would give us 50 years. I would like to see it to continue post-secondary education, student needing assistance, compassion, and money given on proof of registration of a college or university. Those are just the ones that I have, and that's just me. Councillor Charney.
I was in agreement on the 1,000, but I just wanted to know, will we continue with the City of Merritt Council establish 2 scholarships? Will we continue? So we will now have 3 scholarships for $1,000?
I would suggest that's a council budget decision. It's only $2,000, so council can choose either way. I'm not recommending that we discontinue those other 2. I would suggest that given Trans Mountain's preference for the type of student or program that the student's going into, you might want to specify something specific around that. Somebody going into the trades or technology or STEM, whatever we're calling it now, STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math, in a post-secondary institute. So that would cover healthcare, engineering, the trades.
Okay. Councillor Baxter.
I'm okay with that, but I think we should do 2 $1,000 scholarships for the next 25 years.
We
Have 4 in total, because there's a lot of kids in graduating that would love to have enough money so that they're not working 2 jobs too.
that's the fun of it.
Yes, but some of them are going for like high degrees that are burning out.
So my question is, this 50,000 that we've been given, do we actually have it in our hands? Is there a way that we can invest it, that we could have a scholarship in perpetuity? Oh, sorry.
It's unlikely with $50,000 we would have a scholarship in perpetuity. However, we might get a few extra years by putting it in a reserve fund, because then revenue goes directly back into the reserve versus general revenue.
Thank you. Councillor Charney.
The other city merit council, are those for academic university? Or are they trades?
They're actually, the criteria is set by the school board, not by the city. We just provide us the funds and they choose how the scholarships are given out. Staff make the recommendation and the criteria.
Do you not think that we could change that and work with the school directly? And so that we could put either $1,000 or $2,000 into a trades or technology from the Trans Mountain Fund, and then 2 into university post-secondary, so that we've hit both ends of the spectrum there. It's not difficult to work with the counselor and things like that.
No, it's 100% up to council how you want these scholarships given out. That's 100%. I think in the past, I think the scholarship's only maybe 10 years old, our other 2 scholarships. Oh, so not very old. 2021 is when the 2 scholarships. Yeah, right. Thank you. So ultimately they just left it open, but council, it's public funds. Council can decide how much money, how they're given, what the criteria are. You can be a selection committee if you want them to submit applications to council, all of it.
So I think what we should do is work on this one tonight, send the other question that you have to policy. take it to policy and decisions can be made there. Councillor Etchart.
I like the idea of the $1,000 scholarship, but I think we should focus it on trade or technology. There's a lot of other, you see some students that they get all scholarships. It seems like you get one kid at grad that gets like 6, and then you get like all the rest fighting for like 4. So I think it would be nice to really focus on the trade students. That's just me.
Well, let's Councillor Baxter.
We also put the criteria as grades and attendance.
You could also consider criteria of not having received any other scholarship. Right? So you can you can say this has to go to a student who's not received other scholarships, so that it's spread out more. Like there's lots of opportunities for how you want this to work.
Councillor Egan.
I was just gonna suggest that maybe we should see a list of all the scholarships that are being given out already and then come to a decision after we review that.
Okay, so let's nail a couple of things down here. We have one, which is continuing post-secondary education. I think that's fairly standard. I think that's one we all agree on. Okay. So do we want to go with student needing assistance compassion, or do we want to go with grade and attendance? Okay, so we don't have to have this done for a while yet.
I mean, I
Another month.
think Council Baxter probably has a better idea about when scholarships are decided, but ultimately we do want to try and get it done this year.
Okay.
That's why didn't go to
Okay.
policy, because I was trying to get it
Okay,
through.
yeah, okay, no. Well, that's why I'm saying, let's deal on this one. The other two that we've got standing can go to policy. But let's deal on this one. Let's get this one up. Yeah. Yeah, but when's the next policy meeting? End of this month? Councillor Baxter.
I think scholarship committee, like if we have a scholarship committee that we meet, read over their things, because at the high school, there is a scholarship committee that reads over theirs and makes the decision. I think it'd be better and more beneficial if we did that here too.
Okay. So we've agreed on the continuing post-secondary education. So 2, student, what do we want? Not student needs assistance compassion, or do we want to go on attendance and grades?
We're gonna set criteria policy.
You just may want to give direction to send this to policy review.
Okay.
And we can, tomorrow, Katrina and Lynn and I can figure out
Let's
how
send it to
quickly
policy.
we can get policy review together to
Everybody
look
okay with it going to policy?
just at this issue.
Okay, this policy, yeah, just this issue and the other 2. Okay. Going to policy.
No, it would just be this one. So we could just.
Councillor Egan, Councillor Baxter, any other questions? All in favor? Poof, it's gone. Sure. 8.6, Structural Fire Suppression Service Agreement, Cooks Ferry Indian Band. We have a recommendation that council authorizes the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the proposed structural fire suppression service agreement between the city of Merritt and the Cooks Ferry Indian Band. Councillor Petrosi, Councillor Baxter, any questions on this? Councillor Charney.
I'd like to know the 41,000, well, just under 42,000. Where does that money go? Does it go into general? Can it not be put into a reserve for the fire department? Because once it goes into general, it gets lost.
So ultimately, these contribution agreements help to pay for our operational staff. If we didn't have these contributions agreements, so like the Lower Nicola and the Cooks Ferry, and at the time the Trans Mountain agreements, we actually would not have as many career firefighters because we wouldn't have the funds operational. So it doesn't.
But you're saying it goes back into
goes
the
to
fire
general-
department?
It goes to general revenue, but it's part of our budget process to budget for that many career firefighters. Yeah, yeah.
So it goes into the fire department. It doesn't get absorbed to pay for flowers and.
So you don't want to, but you don't want to put it in an equipment reserve. You want to leave
No.
it in the operational
As
section.
long as it goes back to the fire department, I have no problems.
And I think this is really good considering we had a fire out at Nicola Lake. And some people said that it was never going to be needed. Well, guess what? It was. And thank goodness we had the agreement, I would say. Yeah. So anyway. Councillor Rogan.
So regarding the agreement, so are we talking about 1 year, 5 year? but the agreement says only 1 year from January 1st, 2025 ends December 31st, 2025. Like, oh, I just wonder, like,
And schedule is
payment
annual.
schedule.
Yeah,
It was not clear that
Yeah,
it's gonna
on
be a
this-
5 year. That's what,
the
that's all
chief
my.
negotiated it, but that's just the payment schedule, correct? Yeah, just the payment schedule.
Any other questions on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Notice of motion. Reports from council. Councilor Richard, you're up.
I thought I would try and beat Counselor Charney to hitting the button because I'm too slow for her half the time. No, it was a kind of quiet last little bit, but it was annual meeting with the Phelan Society. It's nice to see that we have some housing for some seniors that is reasonably safe. Getting some updates. March the 28th, Councillor Charney and myself, we went to NVIT to see Minister Kang present for the new wing that they're putting the addition up at NVIT with some of the housing. And I think it's the new daycare wing that's going to be built. So that was quite nice to see. And then, of course, we had the retirement party for Peggy. And then April 3rd, we had a very robust policy review meeting. Thank you, staff. There was a lot on there and a lot of discussion, and it was probably one of our longest meetings that we've had in policy review. But it wasn't a bad one. It went well. And thank you, Katrina, for taking notes. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. I'll go next. March 26th to 28th, I was at Thompson Nicola Health District and TNRD. Always exciting times. On the 28th, I had a Zoom meeting with several other mayors and the Minister of Health, Minister Osborne, where we expressed our concerns. I was a featured speaker because I probably complained the most. Anyway, I think the minister took a lot in. The very next day, she announced the review of the PHSA, which we all agreed needed to happen. And I think we will see some good benefits from that. I think with this group and the minister with an open mind, I think we can move forward and get some things done with this minister. On the 29th, met Frank Caputo as he started his campaign here in the Valley. April the 1st, RCMP and mayor meeting. Always meet once a month with the staff sergeant, and we get some good information going back and forth. On April the 2nd, I met with Brian Holmes, a counselor from Upper Nicola Band. We try to have a meeting every couple of months and just see how things are going. And sometimes we talk about stuff that makes sense and sometimes we don't. Also that night was the food bank AGM, which was really well attended. They have a whole new executive, and I think it's exciting. I just want to say thank you to Deanne Palmgren and the other gentleman, I've forgotten his name, that they one put in 12 years, one put in 6 years. It's a long time to be looking after that. So really glad that they did that. Then we had the police and the recreation committee meetings. And today I did my food bank and city walk and only got asked one question. So good to go. So that's it for me. Councillor Hogan. No, Charney, sorry.
On March 26th, I went to the town hall meeting with Tony Luck to get some information on Bill 7. Kind of a scary bill. I'm not too sure where it is right now, but it was good information to have. March 28th, as Councillor Richard said, we met up at NVIT with Minister Kang. And one interesting thing that John Chenoweth said was, I forget what type of heating, it comes up from the ground, is that geothermal. They're going to have geothermal heating for the residents, which I thought was it was an excellent. And then Peggy's retirement, it was nice to see such a great number of staff that was present for her retirement. And Monday morning, I said to myself, I wonder what Peggy's doing. Certainly not getting up at 7 a.m. So congratulations to her, because she has worked at City Hall for 18 years and she's part of the institution. On March 31st, along with, okay, who did I go with that one with? Away from home. No, that was Councillor Petrosi or Egan, one of them. Heidi Walter, away from home presentation on homelessness. It was really good in that it didn't just concentrate on why all the issues around homelessness. It delved into how do we get to that homeless state. I thought she had a really good presentation, and I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't more from the public there. Very few people. April 3, yeah, we had policy review. It was a long one. It was a good one, and let's hope we have more of those. April 4th, I went to the art show for Amy McLaren. I think that's how you say her name. The Freedom of Flaws. It always amazes me how artistic members of our community are. And this was really different. It's kind of off the regular type of art, but it was very refreshing to see her work. And that's it.
Councillor Hogan.
So yeah, March 31st, I also attended the Understanding Poverty and Housing Insecurity. It was great workshop. So it reminded us the importance of having the support, family support, friend support around people. And specifically in like when they were mentioning that there are many youth experiencing homelessness before the age of 16. That's an eye opener. So that was a good presentation. I believe that the city was involved in that one as well. So that was good. On April 2nd, I attended the Rotary Club. So I'm still selling tickets. So there is a state fundraiser dinner. So if you want some tickets, come to me. TNB, I also attended the meeting the same day. They are working hard to open the Adventure Center as of May 1st. So that is their goal. So, and they are also submitting a proposal for the BC Snowmobile Club to host their 2026 trade and awards in Merritt. If granted, so we are expecting between 150 and 200 attendees. So that's good news for our community. That's it.
Councillor Petrosi.
March 28th, I also attended Peggy's retirement, and just want to thank Peggy for her years of service and wish her a well-deserved retirement. March 31st, I attended with councillors Charney and Olguin the Understanding Poverty and Housing Insecurity. And one fact that she threw out there was average age living at home is 28 years of age for kids staying at home.
Mine's been home 3 times. My child's a boomerang.
So 28 years of age is the average. Because, yeah, right, yeah.
You got 5 of them.
And I spoke to Heidi afterwards and asked her about her homeless shelter because every community she goes to, she visits homeless shelters, and she said is one of the best run homeless shelters she's been to. So just wanted to mention that.
Excellent. Just a couple quick things. I don't know if you guys heard today, but Brad Anstey, the owner of the Merritt Centennials, was given the very first award as owner of the year. Our coach also won coach of the year for an expansion team. We finished 7th overall for an expansion team. So hockey was great this year. So I encourage everybody to get on board and get your season tickets for next year, because you're missing a good game if you're not going, because it's been great hockey. And of course, in the NHL, Toronto is probably going to win the whole thing. So no, nobody else, nobody Toronto, no. Well, tough crowd. All right. So anybody else? No. We have the information items. We have one recommendation, but we have the RCMP monthly update. And then the Light Up Blue for prostate cancer. We do have a recommendation that staff be directed to light up City Hall in blue light for the month of September 2025 in support of Prostate Cancer Foundation Canada awareness campaign. Councillor Hogan nods his head. Councillor Charney raises their finger. Anybody? Oh, sorry. See you.
I think previously Council Ogan had suggested that maybe council have a more fulsome discussion and possibly a policy development around these kinds of proclamations. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's like a day for every single thing in the world.
Mhm.
And we don't necessarily always have time to bring it to council by the time we get the information. Like there's like a, National Day of Ducks. That's how many days there are for everything.
I'm particular to the cake eating day.
The cake eat, well, that one we definitely should light up for, but I wonder if there should be some criteria that we don't have to bring it to council. For what things council does want to support as proclamations versus what it doesn't, and you'll have to be very cautious that you're not being perceived as inequitable in your support of different groups.
This smells like policy to me.
Yes, so if council would like to either or direct us to do this and send it to policy committee, or just not do this and and send it to policy, whichever, but I think it should be directed to policy.
Let's see what the magic button has to say. Counselor Egan,
I just was wondering, what would it cost to light up in blue?
zippity.
You know, those kinds of things.
I think we're already able to do it.
Apparently we have some lights that are already, a string of lights that allow us to do that
They're
currently.
already up?
Yes, that's what we were told.
Okay. But
Councillor
those are the
Baxter.
kinds of things I
Oh.
think that policy has to consider.
Send this to policy review.
So you don't want to say September, you want this whole thing to go to policy?
I mean.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
That's-
can't we just say yes to this?
And then.
And then
yes.
go to policy review and get some criteria and
Is
maybe.
that your motion?
Yeah, it
Put
is.
your hands up. I need a seconder. Councillor Petrosi, so we'll approve this and then send it to policy. All those in favor? Oh, what?
Just gonna say that is.
You approve this and for some reason it doesn't meet the policy.
We'll make sure.
It's for prostate. It's
Okay.
for prostate. I
mean,
can't see it
but
not
you-
making.
well, you may choose not to do it at all because you don't want to be perceived as favoring one group over another. Not that prostate cancer is not important. My father had prostate cancer, so I
I
100%.
think when it comes to
Yeah.
health issues, I think we will be cool with all of these, like. But if it comes to like National Hot Dog Day, I think we can probably figure something out. That's pretty important. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So we have some remaining information items in your package. Anybody? No? Okay. Closed session. Recommendation that this meeting be closed to the public pursuant 91C Labor Relations or other employee relations. E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements. If the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. And K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are their preliminary stages and that in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm interests of the municipality if they were held in public of the community chart. Councillor Egan, Chart, Councillor Charney, all those in favor? 5 minutes.